Alright everyone, I am back by popular demand. I know I said I wasn't going to make any more of these videos, but I've gotten so many requests to keep people updated on what's going on in Madison, so you can call me a liar, that's cool, I'm down with that. Thank you for sharing this video, the previous video around. It's gotten 3,600 views in under 3 days, so I'm really glad the message is getting out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you who agree with me and have been leaving me nice comments, thank you so much. I'm glad that I can help get you educated. For those of you who disagree with me, you're perfectly entitled to your opinion, and that's cool. And if my facts are wrong, I apologize. I'm human, I'm not infallible, and I'm not I'm not an economics major or anything like that, so you know, sorry about that. But what I'm trying to do is mostly present why people are protesting and what's being reported to them and why people are getting upset and where the governor is providing false data as well. I'm not really trying to enforce my opinion or force my opinion on anyone or anything like that. I just want people to know why people are upset and what's really going on here. So that's, if you're not getting that on my videos, you're kind of missing the point, and I'm sorry that you're not seeing what I'm trying to say, and if I'm offending you, then I apologize. What I have here today is something that was given to me by a teacher from Fond du Lac. It was written by somebody, hold on, let me find it, named Mary Frankolanis. Now this is a breakdown of how much teachers are actually currently paying towards their pension funds and their health care plans, because it's not the 0% that's been stated, and all the numbers here are correct. As far as I know, I haven't researched into the background, but the math is all shown here, and I'll link you to the report itself in the information tab. So this is just kind of a fact sheet. Alright, Governor Walker's controversial proposal. Under Wisconsin Governor Walker's plan, many state and local workers would pay 5.8% toward their pension and about 12% of their health care benefits. They currently pay little toward their retirement benefits and about 6% of their medical premiums, Walker said. Walker says these changes would help the state save $30 million in the next 3 months of the current fiscal year. Wisconsin is facing a $3.6 billion budget deficit for the biennium that starts on July 1st, according to the state's Department of Administration. So if you go to Google, you type in Club for Growth Wisconsin School Teachers, click on their Facebook site, and click on the icon, the Club for Growth Wisconsin State Action, and then please read the following. I'll link you to this. Teachers are paying their fair share. In 1993, Republican Governor Thompson signed the QEO law to deal with the rise in property tax bills. Property tax bills ballooned in 1993 due to 12.3% due to the higher cost of education. Our union, teachers union, had been effectively using binding arbitration laws to their advantage to create this problem. Republican Governor Thompson's measures prevented WEAC, W-E-A-C, members from using binding arbitration to determine their salaries. Before 1993, our unions utilized large settlements from other districts to persuade arbitrators to side with unions in most contract settlements. The results were devastating to property owners. However, the tactic for pattern bargaining was successful in raising teachers' salaries. The governor needed to bring the public sector's wages back in line with the private sector's wages, and the QEO accomplished that task. Nationwide, during the 90s, public sector employees saw a 37% increase in their salaries, 3.7% per year, while the private sector saw a 50% increase in their salaries, 5% increase per year. At the end of this period, the average salary nationwide for a public sector employee was $36,510 in 2001. Compared to a private sector employee who was making $36,159. The difference was $351 per year, or $6.75 per week, before Uncle Sam took his cut. Governor Thompson's QEO worked because he brought the pay of the public sector back in line with the private sector by limiting our ability to arbitrate our contracts. However, the QEO required that at least 1.7% of our compensation goes directly towards paying for our benefits. Look at the chart below. You will see that the results that the QEO mandate has had on our salaries. Instead of a new teacher's salary rising to $43,050 per year, which would have occurred if we had received a 3.8% increase in our salaries, an increase that still would have been 1.2% less than the private sector over the same time period. 5 minus 3.8 is 1.2. That's where those numbers are coming from. The starting salary only rose to $33,633 per year because 1.7% of our increase went directly toward paying for our benefits. This means we are contributing $9,417 to our overall benefit package and are receiving absolutely no credit for these contributions. All of this data explains why teachers in Wisconsin have dropped from being ranked 15th in the nation in salary in 1993 to 23rd today. As you can see from the chart below, the QEO had a drastic effect. According to WEAC, we currently rank 30th in starting teacher salaries. If you were to multiply the starting salary from a teacher today by 5.8%, at the governor's proposed pension contribution, the value would be $1,951. Then if you'd subtract this value from $9,417, you would get the amount that is being applied to a starting teacher's health care costs, a whopping $7,466. This amount would almost completely cover a single-payer's health care policy throughout the state and very close to 42% of a family plan. The reality of the situation is that we are already paying 5.8% of our pensions costs. We are also paying a 42% of our health care costs if we have a family plan, or roughly 100% of the cost of a single-payer's health care plan. Governor Tommy Thompson ensured that we started paying our fair share with the QEO he signed into law in 1993. However, we have been contributing an additional 1.7% of our compensation package every year, which amounts to 45% of our total compensation package. It is not unusual for wages to double over a 20-year period. Just look at the private sector data provided. Their wages rose by 50% over a 10-year period. Our salaries increased by only 53% over an 18-year period because the governor implemented the QEO, requiring us to contribute 45% of our wage increases to benefits. The table and calculations are flawed because WEAC claims that since 1993, the average salary increase was only 1.6%. Remember, the QEO did not even guarantee you would receive an increase in salary. The 3.8% was a pot of money, and if our benefits costs that year exceeded 3.8%, our employer could impose a salary cut for that 12-month period. When the law was first enacted, the amount you could receive in salary was limited to an upper limit of 2.1%. 3.8 minus 1.7 is 2.1. That's where that number is coming from. There was no lower limit. If your benefits increased, you paid for that increase. The law was written to ensure districts never had to incur more than a 3.8% increase in their costs due to our salaries and benefits. No provisions were put in place to protect the worker from their wage losses. If the cost of our benefits rose by 10%, we would have seen a decrease in salary by law of 6.2% to cover the costs. 10 minus 3.8 is 6.2. That's where they're getting that. It is important to remember that the law guarantees that employees will pay for their benefits first before ever receiving any compensation in salary. In conclusion, it is time to present the facts to the general public and request an apology and correction from Governor Walker. The governor is deceptively issuing false statements about teachers and our contributions to our pension and health care programs. These libelous statements have to be dealt with immediately. Imagine another member of the community always having to deal with libelous statements about not being paid their fair share and being used as a scapegoat for the community's larger problems. Imagine the devastating effects it would have on their job performance and their social relationships with other members of the community. The information he is asserting is with a reckless disregard for the truth. We teachers have been paying our fair share because Governor Thompson made it illegal to avoid paying our fair share when he signed the QEO into law. The law required that we first had to pay for our benefits out of the 3.8% increase, and then after that, whatever was left over would be realized as a salary increase, or maybe a salary decrease as many districts experienced when the cost of their benefits exceeded 3.8%. The QEO guaranteed that workers would be responsible for paying for any increase our employer incurred when it came to our benefits. That was the only guarantee provided by the QEO law. There's a chart here. I'll link to that. The difference between receiving a 3.8% wage increase and a 2.1% wage increase over 18 years would have equaled $9,417. How did they get this? 43,050 minus 33,633 is equal to 9,417. Their pension contribution would be 33,633, which is currently what a starting teacher's wage would be in 2010, times 0.058, which is 5.8%. So that is 1,951. So the difference between 3.8% and the 2.1% increase minus the pension contribution at 5.8% equals the dollar amount that can be applied to their health care costs. So what that would be is the $9,417 minus $1,951, which is equal to $7,466. This amount is almost enough to cover 100% of the cost of a single-payer health care plan. This amount is close to 42% of the cost of a family health care plan. One more fact about paying our fair share. The QEO law guaranteed that we would pay for all increases in our benefits, which included health care costs. It never guaranteed us a dime in salary increases. Our employers did not have to negotiate with us. Instead, they could just QEO teachers. The private sector had the right to take their 5% increases in salaries on average during the 90s and pocket those increases. The private sector did not have to participate in their private sector healthcare plans that companies offered. They could just pocket the entire 5% increase in salary. Most private sector employees have behaved responsibly, using a portion of that 5% salary increase to pay for a fair share of the cost to insure their families. However, some did not. The Bloomberg News report published a report calculating the cost of the uninsured on the insured. The report states that about 8% of our insurance premiums are utilized to provide services for the uninsured. That amounts to roughly $1,440 in my district for an individual with a family health care plan. Since 1993, teachers have been required to pay for all the costs associated with the rising cost of their health care plans. However, we have also been required to pay for roughly 1/3 the cost of the uninsured, who, on average, only pay for 2/3 of their health care expenses. The final result has meant that we received a smaller percentage of the 3.8% pot of money that was offered to us as wages. We paid for our benefit increases over the last 10 years, and we were by law required to pay an additional 8% increase to cover the cost of private sector employees who choose to pocket their money instead of obtaining health care. I understand that many private sector employees can't afford health care, and I am not upset about the 8% increase. I am concerned about not receiving credit for my contribution to all increases in my health care costs, which included an 8% increase for the private sector employees. That was written by Mary Frankelanis. I got it from an awesome guy downtown who works in Fond du Lac and is very passionate about this, and really just wanted to get the facts out so that people understood where all of this is coming from. So I'll link you to that. Once again, I'm just trying to provide information. However, I do think that this is all really interesting and definitely worth taking a look at. So thank you very much for watching my videos, and I will keep you posted. I'm going to post one about Medicaid next. All right, bye-bye.